Another week, another round of pop culture news on Neo Reality Collective. So, we're in the new week of October through October 12th to, let's see the dates just to make sure I'm getting this all correct, to the 16th. New week filled with news is going to be coming out for the next few days. And let's start off with the big ambitious crossover Image Comics. And Image Comics has PR has been talking up at the launch day of Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw's upcoming comic book launch crossover. And Bleed Cooper understands that before today's final order cut off has been finalized, orders are in the six-figure range and have already been the launch of the Department of Truth. And yeah, which would make it the biggest non-Big Two comic book series to launch of the year. So Image is currently getting what it got back in the 90s. So it's in better place than it was in the early days when you had the Image universe existing, albeit loosely, very, 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 very loosely. But yeah, but Image still seems to think there's room for more, and it's been talking to retailers. Their PR people are talking about how that their comic will be having a Watchmen level impact. Okay. So this article from Bleeding Cool goes on to detail saying the comparisons may go more than skin deep. The three circular dots were used for promotion part of the logo and repeat within the first issue. Some saw that as a representation representing different realities, and it may well go there, but the three dots significantly mean something more. Often something that is to be continued, or as known as ellipses. It is notable that one of the lead characters who works in a comic book shop and dresses in cosplay, making her even more of a social pariah, according to some people. That's what the article says, not me. Is also called ellipses, which is pretty Watchmen-like thing to do. While Image Comics is looking for further analogies, they mention crossovers including the New York Times, 10 new comic books, Rise and Fall, where Image describes it as the biggest box office level superhero mashup of the Avengers with the global event impact and mystery of Cloverfield. Okay. So yeah, we'll get to Alan Moore when I can because he certainly gets talked about in this video. But yeah, I don't know how crossover is going to be the Watchmen level impact for some. I don't know. I really don't know. Like when you start saying stuff like that, it starts to really get a little. What's the best way to describe it? A little too much on the hype because now you're saying that it's going to be like this big, except it might not be because the reason why things like Watchmen and stories like The Dark Knight Returns are so iconic with people is well because they were just like very complicated, very interesting layered stories and you know how Hollywood is. They like to think it like how Hollywood and the comic book industry didn't get to understanding it, leading into the dark age of comics, which we all know how that was. And you'll ever wonder to yourself, oh god. But they didn't set out to change the game. They just had a story they wanted to tell. Watchmen and DC, well, Alan Moore had a much more bigger motive about the whole end of the days and being its herald and all that. Yeah, I'm still confused by that. And Frank Miller, back when Frank Miller was good, was just wanting to tell a Batman story, and he loved Batman. So yeah, it makes sense. But when you're saying, "Oh, we're gonna make it as big as this," or "We're vowing to make this kind of impact," it's I don't think that's a good idea to get that bold in saying that. Like, I'm not saying don't dream big, but like when you're saying like we're gonna get this big, you're hyping it to a point where people will start to nitpick things and say, "Oh, it's not that good. It sucks." So yeah, big stuff all around on that front. So there is a report going around that's been backed up by PW Insider, been backed up by Fightful, that Eva Marie is potentially set to make a return. And probably is at the time of this video because Raw is gone right now at the time of this recording. But okay, here's what I'm gonna say. Like, if Eva Marie's coming back to be a manager, a valet as they're called for women wrestlers, because that exists, or if she's coming back to be if she's just coming back to do that, and if unless she has tremendously improved in ways that can never be described, then I will call no. Why, Vince? Do you hate us? Did you see that people were praising you for having a much better developed, in-depth roster with women, and AEW has a struggle with it, and Vince was like, I must kill the good in my company! Because that's the case. I will say I'm picking my victories here. The victory I can at least say with Eva Marie is that she did injure everyone on a consistent basis. Ain't that right, Nia Jax? Because, oh god. Oh god, this company, I implore you, hunt them down. Wonder why it goes through their heads. Oh god. And then Lars Sullivan got in trouble. I'm not going to go in details on that because I'm trying not to keep this kind of content on there. But let's just say this. WrestleVote said that he's lost every supporter in WWE in the backstage area except for the Ultimate Authority. So, whoopee, Vince. Way to continue showing why you're an idiot. Like, this is the reason why you will never see me make a video talking about how messed up Vince is and how he's destroyed his legacy and how much he's poisoned his mind, he poisoned himself, clearly has mental issues, and has clearly shown he's not mentally capable of leading the company to the next decade. But the reason why I have not made a video about that, which was supposed to happen, it was set to happen in August after the Seth Rollins video did well, where I talked about the self-decimation of Seth Rollins' career in my eyes. But the problem was the third-party thing came out, and then everything just tumbled downwards from there. And I was like, it would be outdated within seconds. I could make a 2-hour video, and there would be like 10 different reports coming out that Vince is a horrible scumbag that only tops what that's going on. So, yeah, I'm stuck on that front. Yeah. But yeah, Eva Marie, like I said, I like Eva Marie on a managerial level. Like, I would like her to be a valid character because imagine if she was the manager for Roman Reigns before they did the Paul Heyman pairing and Roman Reigns was the heel wearing a suit and everything and Eva Marie was the manager. Could you imagine the heat they would have gotten back in the day, especially after Taker won the after Taker was defeated by Roman? Yeah. So, yeah, that happened. There's some more WWE news on the way, but there is a report that AEW could be looking to get another name. According to Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net, backed up by Fightful, AEW has an interest in MLW star Mance Warner. A source told Haynes AEW 100% has interest. So, it was said he was backstage at Revolution in Chicago back in February when there were still people, and also backstage on an episode Dynamite held in Ohio back in January. Warner is still under contract, though details of his contract is unclear and unknown regarding his time in MLW. He's able to work independent events and had a presence at GCW's The Collective over the weekend, including an appearance at, I'm not going to say it, Battle Royal at Joey Janela's Spring Break 4, and has recently filed trademarks for his in-ring name and Southern Stomper. So here's the thing. I actually asked people if he should go All Elite or not. People were like, maybe. Like, he's a great talent. They mentioned that. The reason why they said it's an it for them is because AEW has a lot of people in their roster. And I agreed with that. I said maybe they should, unless this is part of the build up to their big second show they're planning to produce, and that's coming soon. So then I could understand that because you can only do so many matches on Dynamite Dark and on Dark because AEW is a 2-hour show. AEW has a 2-hour show with Dynamite, AEW Dark can go for as long as it humanly can because it has 14 matches this week, so get ready for that insanity. And yet all of it will be under 90 minutes or a little over. So yeah, would I like to see this guy and see what he can bring to the table? Sure, but we need to see how I don't watch MLW all that much. So I don't have a full, full in-depth conclusive viewpoint on the guy. So let's see what I can see about him later down the road maybe, but that's all I can say on that. So WWE has announced that they have renewed their license with the Amway Center, according to PW Insider, will be extending its length with the Thunderdome concept for at least another 4 weeks. That means Survivor Series and NXT. Oh wait, not NXT. That's at the Performance Center, aka the Capital Wrestling Center. So Survivor Series will likely take place at the Amway Center. Or so 4 weeks of Thunderdome, which means 4 more weeks. 4 more weeks of possible crap in the screens. I seriously hope that affects that. So WWE apparently is premiering a new Undertaker documentary, 30 Days of the Dead Man. And I heard this and I was like, why? Like, okay, fine. The last ride documentary having a bonus episode, fine. I get that, but 30 Days of the Dead Man? Is this like a reality show at this point? But like, again, I don't get why. I really do not. If anything, I'm more confused about this route they're taking. But they need to milk the Undertaker for all he's worth if he's not going to wrestle anymore, or well, exploit him in the documentary business. Even though they probably should have quit after the bonus episode. So Samoa Joe talks about if he is done wrestling as an in-ring competitor. This is what he said. Samoa Joe was on a recent Guest on Wilding on podcast and spoke at length on his reputation for taking care of people backstage. He credits Red for setting that example for him, and he was breaking into the business and everything, and whatnot. So, yeah, he revealed that while he's enjoying his time at a commentary and is not done with the in-ring portion of things, but noted he has been doing some voice acting during this time, which is understandable. Like, he was in the Game of Thrones Telltale spinoff and then was killed in that game, and is even going to play King Shark is a Shark in the upcoming Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, because the Suicide Squad could clearly kill the Justice League. So this is what he had to completely say. Right now, I've been enjoying commentary, and it's been a fun challenge, and it's something very new, and I'm enjoying that. Obviously, I'm not done in the ring by any means. I think right now I'm just kind of exploring things and seeing how I feel about it. Aside from that, I've been doing a lot of voice acting lately. It's kind of cool, fun, and that's a very enjoyable thing. So some projects are on the rise, and some projects are coming out really soon with Warner Brothers. It's a cool thing. I'm really fortunate. I'm happy that I'm doing things that I'm doing right now. So yeah, it's good. Like, I would love to see Samoa Joe come back into the ring, but if it does still say he's still hurt, it's probably for the best we wait it out before and not rush it. We're at this story. So, you know what? Maybe I should put it in the ticker because it's just so insane. Let's see. Get rid of DC Future State. We'll talk about that. Like, like this is a comedian. Like, wow, when I heard this, I was like, oh wow, Triple H, you're hilarious. Like, uh, so if you've seen the ticker, I wrote Drew versus Reigns equals Rockin' Austin. Oh god damn it. So this is what Triple H said, because this has to be a joke. Like, oh man. Triple H said in an interview that a Reigns versus McIntyre feud would make more sense in a few years when both wrestlers hit their peak. I would love to see a pro look, whatever, because I think that a couple of years down the road, Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre is the Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair scenario, the Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin scenario, and you don't want to hit it before it peaks. This was part of his defense argument for why there should be the draft instead of, obvious reasons. But oh man. Oh god damn it. Oh god. We already did see their match. And what exactly do you mean Roman hitting his peak? Like, the 5 main event Mania matches he did weren't his peak in a row? The multiple shove down our throat title runs that sadly ended in complete confusion and disasters? Not on Roman's fault, except for the banning and the temporary suspension for the violation policy that could be attributed to Adderall take. But moving on from that conspiracy, because of that talk, but the leukemia incident, Roman's title runs as world champ, I don't get why, but I keep thinking it's cursed. Like, when he won the WWE title, he was set for a long run. Then he loses it because he violated the wellness policy. And then when he won the Universal title, he got leukemia, unfortunately, a flare-up, and then just recently came back, was supposed to fight for it and win it most likely against Goldberg, because of course, and then that was delayed, and then that was stopped because COVID happened. So, and Roman was had an immunocompromise, along with, caring more for his kids, and was willing to retire and throw everything Vince had given him away if it meant his family could be protected, which props to him. And now he's in this current run, which I fear, even if he's taking all the safety stuff and his flare-up doesn't happen again, it's probably going to stop all of a sudden halfway through. That's my biggest fear on the run so far as a heel. So, yeah. And I am still bugged that it took a freaking pandemic for Vince to say, hey, maybe we should finally turn the guy heel, right? Hey, I'm content with being a face. I want to turn heel. You got it. I want to be with Paul Heyman. You got it. Yes. Yeah, it took the freaking pandemic and 200,000 people dying for Vince to say, can we turn Roman, to finally pull the trigger on Roman, especially after Roman demanded it or he wasn't coming back. So, but Roman and McIntyre, look, when you're trying to say something like that, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Rock and Austin, it's like, here's the thing. I'm not laughing at the idea of it. I'm laughing at the absurdity of modern WWE. Like, you could not have Drew, because one, you've had Drew and Roman fight each other a lot throughout 2019. And then you also gotta remember, you gotta also remember that WWE also, positively fucking sucks nowadays with storytelling, unless the wrestlers take matters into their own hands, and unless you're certainly favored by Vince, then you'll be punished for being good. Because the only people that I've seen I feel like have been allowed to do whatever they want is Bray Wyatt, who does his awesome stuff with the Fiend Word and the Revenge Saga, and Roman Reigns' heel run, and Drew McIntyre able to be himself on TV. Unless you're a part-timer or an established veteran. But if you mish the two together, it's like, it's going to be sort of a struggle, because a few years down the line, Vince will probably be like, nah, I'm going to take away their rights and whatnot, and not let them be themselves, and not let them be unique, and let them be organic. Yeah, I hate that. Unless Vince somehow makes it that far. But, yeah, it's just like, the reason Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair was such a great thing to make which sadly wasn't capitalized in WWE. WCW capitalized on it, which was probably the biggest shot at them they ever got. The reason why you had Ric Flair and Hogan hyped up so much is because it was essentially the dream WWE versus the NWA, or the dream match of WWE mainstream versus independent wrestling mainstream. So it was like you had the best worlds colliding. But the fact that they didn't capitalize it also added more hype to it because it was rumored that was going to be a plan. Then they just didn't do it because reasons. And in fact, I still to this day don't get it. And like and then WCW finally did it, and they worked a trilogy, I believe. But the problem was that afterwards they stopped making it look like it was important and started making matches just out of it because, oh, it sells money, to the point that no one wanted to see it anymore. And then WWE did it on a Raw to show that basically showed how far gone it was. Like, that was the only time wrestling in WWE was a WWE Raw 2002 show when Hogan was the champion and he wasn't even feuding with Flair. He was feuding with The Undertaker. We all know how that match was. So, yeah, and Rock and Austin, okay, that's a much different beast regarding Hogan and Flair. At least Hogan and Flair had they built themselves up in other places and never touched really each other in the ring until WCW capitalized on it because WWF fucked it all up. Rock and Austin, yeah, they had interactions and wrestled each other in the past, but that was when they weren't forcibly pushing them. They were like WWE, like The Rock maybe, but that wasn't working. So Rock was allowed to turn heel, do the Nation of Domination. Austin was starting to get there, but it had to get Bret Hart to get him the shot in the arm he needed. And then the injury happened, and they had to wait more and more and more. And then when it came to doing the WrestleMania match, when it came up, they were being built up as the biggest face and the biggest heel. But it's just, would WWE do it now like they did with Austin and Rock now? Like when you had The Rock be a heel, you legitimately felt like says he called himself the People's Champion, you would hate The Rock when he went corporate. But let's be real, Roman's character and McIntyre's character, that's the best way to describe it. McIntyre's likable because we get it. He's this big, powerful man that was held down by the WWE machine, and he had to go through more bullcrap, even though he had everything Vince wants in a big guy. But he's not a proud American or some BS like that, and it took a year longer than it probably should have. And then you got Roman, the favored golden child, and then they finally give the heel run, and fans are cheering for him and wanting to see him kick more ass. So it's like, there's not a dynamic face versus heel. It's more like I like this guy. I like this guy. Who should I like more? Like, especially when you look at Roman Reigns, the person, of how great of an awesome dude he is, especially after 2015. So, yeah, as much as I want to hope McIntyre and Roman could get to that level, I don't see it. Like, I don't see them ever topping Rock and Austin at WrestleMania. Like, you would have to make WrestleMania 17 level quality again in modern times, which I don't. And they struggle nowadays with an undercard storyline going on with quality matches. Okay, yeah, enough about this story. Let's move on because I think I've wasted like 10 to 15 minutes on that. Rockstar reportedly buys and rebrands Crackdown 2 developer Ruffian Games. I didn't even know they were still in business. So Ruffian Games is supposedly Rockstar Dundee. And it's been hiring for a few months, so... And this is not, like, confirmed or anything. This is just rumored. This is just rumored. So... Yeah, there's been no confirmation on this, but, like, there's been word trying to get to them, but now it seems like, yeah, Rockstar did buy Ruffian Games, but there's been no official announcement or press release. It just happened. Yeah. So Disney is restructuring a lot of stuff, but Disney CEO Bob Iger, I think he's still ruler of Disney. No, wait, Disney CEO Bob Chapek said that Disney CEO says COVID isn't to blame for stream focus reorganization. Okay, so it says that Disney is restructuring to focus more on its direct-to-consumer strategies and will centralize its various media businesses into a single organization and responsible for content distribution, sales, and streaming. So they're saying basically that the COVID virus is not responsible for this, but they said this could result in some layoffs, but not likely on the same scale as last month's layoffs of 28,000 workers on light of the ongoing park shutdowns in California. So yeah, here's the thing. I'm still waiting for Blu-rays of the Clone Wars series, of The Mandalorian, to be released so I can add them to my ultimate collection, and preferably in steelbooks. So yeah, they are becoming a streaming focused company. Oh, and people are still waiting, and since it got its resurgence in popularity, people are like, when is Star Wars Clone Wars, the 2003 Grindy Travinsky series, coming back online? As in the 2 seasons uploaded to Disney Plus. Yeah, why haven't they brought that back? Like, I know they're trying to just shove it down the rug because, I don't know. Oh, and fans have to remaster it themselves instead of Disney having their billions in the bank to remaster shows that took like a couple of weeks to produce. Yeah, I'm still amazed by that. Even when it was short stuff, I get it was being super short stuff, but still animation's hard and it's probably gonna be torturous. So yeah, what can you do? Halo's Master Chief Collection is not. Microsoft says there are no plans to bring Halo 5 to the Master Chief Collection. So this is what they came out with. Halo 4 is the last Halo title we currently have planned for the collection. Sorry to crush your Halo 5 and MCC dreams. So let's finish strong. So they said this, and yeah, I was like, it's not like they didn't say it's never gonna happen. I think it's more like it might happen years from now. Like honestly, I thought they were planning to do it with when the Xbox Series X of like a year or so down the line after it comes out. So I think that might be it. And then Respawn delayed Apex Legends launch so Dev could finalize adoption. Yeah, so this is what was said. So Apex Legends launched a few hours late back in February 2019. Former Respawn lead programmer John Shearing had a court date to finalize his daughter's adoption at the same time the Battle Royale was supposed to release. He went on Twitter saying this. Filed the voluminous paperwork to finalize my daughter's adoption today. Remind me of the last time I was at a courthouse here in LA. So the Apex Legend was weirdly late that day, lunchtime PST evening in Europe, not when you would expect. EKO5 and everyone else at Respawn actually pushed the secret game launch time back so I could get my court hearing, then raced back to the office and managed to launch with 2 people and celebrate the team. It was an amazing morning for me and my family. Huh. So Respawn stuck by their guy and said, hey, we want to keep this guy and launch the game with him, not without him. And they let him get his daughter the adoption papers and courthouse dates done. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, oh boy. The legal war of Epic Games and Apple begins. So, yeah, it has begun. There's been an update on it. Last Friday, Judge Rogers, let's just go with that name, has granted Epic's injunction preventing Apple from removing Epic's developer account and denying removing the policy where they were denying access to iOS developers to the Unreal Engine. However, Gonzalez Rogers also ruled that Apple is allowed to keep Fortnite off the Apple Store. Citing the magnitude of the case, the judge presiding over the ongoing Apple legal case has stopped Apple from terminating Epic's developer account, which would prevent the company from releasing updates for the Unreal Engine on iOS. However, Fortnite will remain banned on iOS. A court date has been scheduled for summer 2021, which will hopefully determine an outcome for the trial. While it's unclear where the court stands on the legal fight, Rogers wrote that injunction grant Epic Games has strong arguments regarding Apple's exclusive distribution through the iOS App Store and the in-app purchase system through which Apple takes 30% of IAP payments, but added, however, given the limited record, Epic has now significantly addressed Apple's counter-arguments. So, to war! So we're going to have to wait a whole year to see how this court battle goes that will decide the future of the Apple Store and third-party involvement. Yep. Level 5 reportedly ends North American and operations. So yeah, publisher and developer seems to appear ending operations in North America. There are no currently concrete plans to release any more games outside Japan. No, well, I never play their games, but I know a lot of people probably do, so it sucks to hear that. So yeah, they are the guys who performed games like Ni no Kunai. I am pretty sure I butchered that name wrong, so sorry if I got that wrong. So yeah, it looks like certain stuff are not coming to the States, so yeah. Ooh. So yeah, sucks for them and sucks for us. Like, people who want to play these games now have to basically get it from Japan, meaning that they don't probably have English voice acting. I don't know. Like, they've essentially cut ties with them, and they're not no concrete plans to release any more games outside Japan. So they'll probably just be a Japanese-only company on that front, in Japan's exclusive gaming area. Okay. So, Hunger Games prequel movie will explore the evolution of Panama. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly at New York Comic Con, one of the creative professionals behind the Hunger Games explained how the prequel will differ from the franchise's other big screen adaptations, noting this time the games will be viewed from an entirely new perspective in a completely different time period, which is considerably less glitzy. Well, it's very early on. They do take it in very different times. This is the 10th Hunger Games as opposed to Catching Fire's 75th. I think the Hunger Games are considerably less glitzy than they ultimately become, so I think there's a lot of fun in that. Seeing what they used to be, and that will be interesting. I think that seeing the capital character, where the point of view that takes you through the good part of the story, is something we've never really done. We've had great capital characters, but we've only really ever seen them through the eyes of our district protagonist. We've never seen it through the eyes of a capital character, especially Snow. Yeah, we all know Snow is a psychopath at times, but even he knew his limits. So, yeah, yeah, it's gonna be interesting where they take this. I am curious how this goes, especially since Snow is gonna be the main character. And now we get to something that really annoyed me. So, okay. Star Wars released a new book that has filled in some of the missing pieces to Snoke's backstory and lineage. So Twitter user Old Man Blinks shared a few notable pages from the Star Wars book written by Cole Horton, Pablo Hidalgo, and Dan Zer, including a holocron file and detailed character profile for Snoke, which describes the mysterious legion as a bio entity known as Strandcast. So this is what was said. Okay. It's possible Snoke himself may not know his true nature. Oh, you've got it free. Wait, so now they're saying Snoke never knew he was just the tool? Okay. So, oh goddamn, I'm so confused. So, okay, moving on. Though a force user of immense power, he denies any Sith lineage. Okay, why? The fact only scant details exist regarding his origins. It's possible Snoke himself may not be known of his true nature. Or Snoke is a stand cast, an artificial genetic construct concocted by the resurrected Darth Sidious to be his proxy in power. Snoke has free will, but his actions and goals are orchestrated by Sidious. So he has no free will. That's essentially that is essentially what you said. Okay. Okay, you don't know what would have made more sense. Why not just say, because certain stories now don't really make any sense. Books like Aftermath and certain books like The Last Jedi Expanded Edition all indicated Snoke was in fact a real person who wasn't a clone, who wasn't a genetic concoction of something. Why not just that existed sometime before the Empire happened, so he was around before when the Clone Wars broke out. So why not just go with the? In fact, why is certain angles of his face scarred, and why does he have a lightsaber clearly stabbed in the back of his head? Like, what's the story then? Like, how does Snoke, who has all the but his actions and goals are orchestrated by Sidious, but Snoke has free will, yet Palpatine creates Snoke? Oh god, my mind just collapsed. This is like they're trying so hard to fix this, and I feel sorry for all the writers. Like they have to try and fix something that Disney completely broke because risque is danger. Like, okay, you want to know how they could have fixed this? How about this? Snoke is aware Snoke is probably in a coma or what. Like during the Empire's reign, you could retcon some of the stuff where Palpatine actually confronted the real Snoke. Like battled him in a big battle, presumed he was dead, but was probably in a coma for some time, and took strands of his DNA in the battle to create a Snoke backup in order to, plan the whole thing out, because complex Machiavellian schemer who somehow foresaw his own death, but did nothing to stop that, destroy his own empire, and oh god, this plan makes no sense even if I go with that route. Oh god. Like, fuck. They have to try and fix this. I feel sorry for them because Disney still puts the shackles on them. Like, there were so many retcons they had to go ahead. And now it's like, and once again, people are trying to praise this, say it's in the books, it's in the supplementary features. Again, supplementary. It's supposed to be optional stuff. It's supposed to be expanded stuff. It's not supposed to be essential material. If you say that this character that is very, very important, but doesn't do anything important, but say, oh, it happened in the books, that's where he did all the important stuff, then why am I watching the movies? I have to read an encyclopedia worth of stuff just to get, oh, so this is why this character is this. Like Captain Phasma. Like, backstory was really actually cool and really interesting. It's basically Mad Max in space. And how she's actually a selfish character and a person that doesn't care about the First Order. That would have actually been interesting if they explored it more in depth. But because interesting is more materialistic ideology, and Disney needs more money, we gotta make an excuse out of it. And in fact, the deleted scene from Last Jedi that Rian Johnson produced that has Finn reveal that yes, Phasma did all this stuff in the First Order where she betrayed them and turned off the shield to save her skin, and that would have been more interesting if they had found okay, imagine they didn't kill Phasma off or they brought her back because her armor was just that damn awesome only to get whacked in the head once. But imagine this. They do this route. Phasma somehow survives the fire with the armor likely because of the armor. Yeah, the First Order discovers that Phasma actually betrayed them because of footage, evidence, or maybe a survivor witnessing this stuff. The scene was still put back in, and saw that and learned the truth, reported it, and thus leading to it spreading like wildfire here, which would lead to the Stormtrooper rebellion that was planned out in the original cut version of The Rise of Skywalker when Colin Trevorrow was working on it, which would have been a very different film, and I'll probably talk about that one day. But once again, this sounds, and Phasma has to run and make a run for it again, and this leads to her joining the Resistance because she has valuable information she could give, since she was a very powerful person in the government. And this would have actually given her character development, especially interacting with Finn and whatnot, how she can't be this character and has to evolve into a new character. Like, that would have been more interesting to me. That would have just been more interesting. That's just my opinion, but like, oh god, they really made this so messed up and complicated, overt and stupid, and complexly stupid. Let's go with that. Okay. Gal Gadot is in hot water, so Gal Gadot is playing the Queen of Egypt, Cleopatra, in a special upcoming movie that's going to be in production. That's directed by Patty Jenkins, which somehow pissed people off on Twitter. And I'm thinking how they're saying she's not Egyptian, except Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian; she was Greek. Remember when Greek took over Egypt and they turned it into a city-state essentially, and Egypt could do its own thing just with the Greeks involved with it. And then Rome came in and destroyed everything, but that's a different matter. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, is Gal Gadot the right person? We'll see. But like they could do probably worse. They could have made Cleopatra a different ethnicity. And, makes sense or whatnot. Not really. So, Disney Plus reorganizes Marvel screening area, calls the non-MCU films Marvel Legacy movies. Yeah. So stuff like Avengers, not Avengers, Hulk, all those other Daredevil, all those X-Men, yeah, they would technically be labeled Marvel Legacy movies. Okay, I understand that part. So Monster Hunter, okay. Monster Hunter Paul W. was okay. Okay, so Paul W.S. Anderson. You mean the guy who made the Resident Evil movies? And Mila Jovovich, the actress of the Resident Evil movies, are teaming up for Monster Hunter? Oh, goddamn, they're screwed. And the character is from our reality. They just can't be a character in that game's reality. It's like, oh, goddamn it. Oh, goddamn. They're screwed. Okay. Moving on. So, remains of ancient Viking god house to Thor and Odin's son, undiscovered in Norway. Oh, well, that's interesting. Archaeologists have unearthed the 1,200-year-old remains of a large Viking temple in Norway that was dedicated to the worship of the Norse god Thor and Odin. It was the first remains of such an old. It is the first remains of such an old Norse temple discovered in Norway. This is the first time we've ever found one of these very special, very beautiful buildings. We know them archaeologist Soren whatever of University Museum of Bergen informed Life Science. We know them from Sweden and we know them from Denmark. This shows that they also existed in Norway. The structure was a god house and it differed from smaller, simpler places of worship of the Old Norse pagan gods. While the wood structure itself is gone, the post holes that were uncovered shows what the size and layout of the house would have been, including what would have been a distinctive tower only used in god houses, as Science Alert reports it. Then they go into more detail about how big the thing was, how it was. Archaeologists say the large wooden building, about 45 feet, aka 14 meters long, 8 meters, 26 feet, 8 meters wide, and 40 feet, 12 meters high. So it's thought to date from the end of the 8th century and was used for worship and sacrifices to gods during the midsummer and midwinter solstices. The site also revealed cooking pits for religious feasts and animal sacrifices. You would have a good mood, a lot of eating, and a lot of drinking. I think I would have had a good time. I think they would have had a good time. Located nearby in a large phallus-shaped stone that was discovered several years ago, is believed to have been part of the fertility. Gotta pronounce it wrong on rituals. While the Viking settlement ores dates back to almost 2,500 years, the god house site is understood to heal from the late 8th century. An elite group of wealthy families came to dominate the area at the time, and yeah, this goes into more of the history of everything, but they found an ancient Viking god house to Thor in Norway, to Thor in Odinson. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. That's kind of cool. Watchmen's Alan Moore says, oh, god damn it. So, yeah, Watchmen's Alan Moore. He says that superheroes have blight in cinema. Yeah, he's very, though he's very recluse. So let's go with that. He doesn't like every movie based off his books, like The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the 2009 film, and the HBO series of Watchmen. And basically he's another angry rant about how he doesn't really like. So, yeah, Moore also had stated about the Killing Joke, saying, I've been told the Joker film wouldn't exist without my Joker story, but 3 months after I had written it, that I was disowning it. It was far too violent. It was for Batman, for sake. It's a guy dressed as a bat. Increasingly, I think the best version of Batman was Adam West, which didn't take it seriously at all. Okay, look, I get it. He is very. Essentially, this is what he says. Back in my day, superheroes were for the youngins and the kids. It's these adults that love these things. When you bring them into the adult world, it becomes kind of grotesque. That's essentially what he's saying. So, yeah. Okay. So, he does this a lot, so this is nothing new. But, like, when I hear this, I'm thinking, then what the heck was Watchmen? It was clearly not a kid's story. That was violent and grotesque, except it wasn't in Batman or the DC universe. And here's the thing: the best version of Batman was Adam West. Okay, fine, that's your opinion, that's your right. Hey, and a lot of people did love the Adam West Batman, and that universe witnessed the violent, horrible death in the Crisis series. So good luck with that. But I'm thinking, like, that's an interpretation. There could be multiple interpretations. There could be a multiverse. That's why multiverses exist. It gives us a sense of comfort that this thing may not be canon, but it's somewhere out there in the multiverse. Also, yeah. Like, why is he saying that this is child's entertainment? It's perfectly for children. But You wrote Watchmen! You were distinctly told by DC when you came up with the idea that you admit, looking back on it, was a mistake in your eyes of cribbling Barbara Gordon. You were distinctly told by DC Comics, its editors at the time, saying, and I quote, cripple that boom. Yeah, so, yeah. So yeah, I'm just I'm amazed at this logistical nightmare. In fact, weren't you the guy that was pitching for it to be the end of days, all your books? To be the big tapestry that would lead to the end of the world. In 2017, I believe. It's 2020. I think you got the date wrong. I think it was supposed to be this year, but you seem to have also gotten that wrong because we're still alive by a thread. We are fucked. A new Outer Worlds game is reportedly in pre-production. Yay, good news. Senior video game analysis have claimed that a new entry of the Outer Worlds franchise is already in production. Daniel Atman reported, last I heard, a new entry of the franchise is being explored, currently in pre-production. Could change to something else, of course, but this is the current status. So, yeah. And this comes up after Obsidian revealed that the Outer Worlds would be coming to Steam later this month over the weekend, and announced that Outer Worlds would finally be launching on Steam October 23rd, nearly a year after the game's original launch with the Epic Games Store in 2019 of October. So thank you Epic Games for denying the Steam users just so they can play your crappy platform. Yeah. So yeah, interesting take. I'm like, unless they're gonna rework the engine and everything, honestly, I would just sell for massive DLC expansions and make the Outer Worlds much more livelier. I've enjoyed it so far. So I'll probably have to get back to that eventually. Not eventually, I'm going to. So, Dan Jurgens, one of the writers for the upcoming Generation Shattered DC special, you know, the comic that's going to break time after Death Metal, after they were told Death Metal was going to fix the timeline. I mean, yeah. He goes into a lengthy interview on Tuesday, January 5th, on the same day as Dark Knight's Death Metal finale. Goes on sale. DC will release Generation Shattered #1, a prestige format 8-page one-shot written by Dan Jurgens, Andy Schmidt, and Robert Venditti, whatever, that continues the story elements stemming directly out of Death Metal 7 and Jurgens' story in last month's Detective Comics 1027. Starring a time-displaced team of DC superheroes, including the original 1939 Batman, Booster Gold, Kamandi of the 30th or 31st century, New Teen Titans era Starfire, Dr. Light pre-Crisis, Sinestro when he was a Green Lantern, and Steel from the Reign of Superman. And they face off against the mysterious foe to stave off a cosmic threat to the DC's newest and oldest universe. Yeah, so look forward to that. While the publisher has yet to acknowledge or confirm it officially, Generation Shattered leads into DC's upcoming Future State event, which, as Newsarmor reported, will be the finite night event that will feature a series of limited series specials temporarily replacing the core DC Universe title. So essentially what they're saying is that all the solicitations, that every story, every ongoing title will be on hold so they can work on this story. While details of Future State will have to wait until DC releases their January 2020 solicitations and later this month or before, Newsarama was able to pose some questions to Generation Shattered to its writing trio, Jurgens, provides the answers as we talk about the title's connection to the previous generation's event, the choice of characters, and what appears to be a bookend chapter Shattered on sale February. Newsarama, gentlemen, first of all, we're all comic book fans and whatnot, yada yada yada. So they talk about they first asked the question of whether they to whatever degree you can answer, what happened to that version of the Generations project, and why is it moving forward as then conceived? Dan Jurgens responds, I don't think it's any great secret that DC was working towards some developments with its line that aren't going to happen. There have clearly been a number of changes, now the least of which is the reality of the global pandemic, which wasn't a factor when we first started. It had actually been a very organic process with a natural evolution of ideas. Translation: it was going to be a forced inorganic moment which involves Dan DiDio destroying the DC timeline again, so they can age up all their characters to prepare for the eventual rebirth of newer legacy characters that would have been reversed after like 5 years probably. Maybe less if it pissed everyone off. So, yeah. The next question was, we'll address it. It's involved stay in a moment. But for the moment, what DNA strands does the former project share with this new incarnation? Jurgens responds, the common DNA strands of the project really gets into the idea of different generations of the DC universe. It's really amazing to consider that Superman first showed up in 1938, has been a premier fictional character all that time. He was the first of what will become an entire magnificent universe of characters. That occasionally gets really great, then sometimes destroyed, then gets really bad. And then you do stupid decisions like Heroes in Crisis. And we've seen them progress through different generational versions. From our very first discussions, the durable nature of those characters and the way they adapted through the years was a key part of what Ra, Andy, and I have been dealing with. Next question was, before moving on to that in more detail, how does Shattered relate to Dark Knight's Death Metal, which DC has released directly into Shattered? Jurgens' response was, Death Metal builds towards a very specific conclusion that allows us to tell our story. I think it's safe to say that we're all exploring the vast potential of the DC universe of characters. Solicited as Generation Shattered #1, Dan, your story in Detective Comics 1027 teases its continuation in Generations Future State #1. Can you clear up any conflicts between these things and how, assuming it does Shatter relate to Future State in January? Reading February, nice catch on your part. Originally, we were going to touch on what's coming in with Future State. We're detouring from that a bit focused to focus more on our own story. Dan, the text story pretty much leads into what we know about Shadow #1 from solicitations. The original Batman is created from his timeline to serve on a time cross team, somewhat reminiscent of Avengers Forever. Or the most interesting new detail now in the solicitation seems to be that despite his appearance on the covers, Kamandi twice refers to Booster as an old man. Yes, Kamandi refers to Booster as an old man, but that's by design, and all meant to lead to a part overall mystery of what's happening, not to mention the idea of what we can have with different generations of characters. So then it suggests to us he's referring to Booster not from the current main timeline or his original timeline, from timeline years, decades removed from the current core. Did we interpret that correctly? You did! Which means people are hopefully speculating things just as we had hoped. No, just as Newsarama mentions, was Booster communicating from the future state of the January-February event? The communication that Kamandi is referring to was centered more in his own time. As from how that happens, that's part of the story to come. Newsarama says, can you tell me why you selected the lineup of characters you selected? And can you tell us, Spectra, when each character is pulled? Sure! We want to reflect different periods of DC. So Batman, who's pulled from 1939, just days after he put on the costume, obviously reflect those earlier stages. But I think of that as the Golden Age. Sinestro gets into the Silver Age, while Kamandi gives us both the 70s and the Great Disaster future. Booster, Starfire, and Dr. Light come from different aspects of the 80s, and Steel is from the 90s. Called it! Called it! As for why we picked these specific characters, we thought they made for a very interesting mix of personalities, backgrounds, powers, and capabilities. They're also characters that intrigue us as writers, so we can provide personal spark every story has to have. We also have such a great team of artists that we want to give them characters and scenarios that are both fun and interesting to draw. It's all part of the elevating of the project to a very special place. They then ask, why the original Batman, as opposed to, say, the original Superman or the original Wonder Woman, who was originally being set up as the first superhero in previous versions of Generations? Jurgens' response was, there's a raw edge to first-generation Batman that feels very interesting. He's younger, has no tech, and is very much of a loner, and I think represents an attitude of desperation that goes to that time, unlike Superman, who's an alien, and Wonder Woman, who comes from a very different environment. This Batman is very human. The concept of alien beings, superpowers, and time travel are extremely foreign to him. Newsarama then asks, will any other time-plucked characters be part of the story? Yes, one in particular will play a key part in the story, and we think serve as a very pleasant, fun surprise for readers. Speaking of surprises, most mysterious comic book foes, those in solicitation terms, as Saturn #1, turns out to be established characters and guys are or making surprise returns. Can you give us any clues as to who yours is? Sure, he has definitely appeared before, but I think it's been a while since we've seen him. His power level has definitely positioned him with the ability to manipulate time into something he can shatter, dominate, and shape into his own desire. Starting to wrap things up here. From the outside looking in, DC seems to be entering into a metatextual phase of handling a seemingly ever-present continuity conflicts. Dan, you were the writer of Zero, another time-based crisis and continuity redo. First of all, is there any direct relation between Zero and Shattered? Jurgen's response is, nothing that's terribly overt, other than the fact that Zero has powered DC's history. Consider it's a thread that's part of the overall tapestry of the DCU, which I'm pretty sure is horrendously destroyed. So then, is embracing and recognizing the full tapestry of the different generations rather than trying to smash them together into 10 to 20 year timeline of the official DC new narrative approach, particularly given Warner Bros. TV and films have seemed to be fully running toward rather than away from the full-on multiverse concept? That's a heavy question. None of us can really answer what's happening with TV and film. I mean, granted, they can't really answer that because Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are a couple in one universe and they're something else in another, but they're not a couple yet. Or Poison Ivy's back to being evil, and Harley's kind of trying to kill the Joker. But as readers and professionals, we appreciate different aspects and eras of the DC universe as a whole. It seems to us that there is a particular strength of recognizing the very best DC has offered through the years. Peter Ron says, so this generational timeline is the original Batman, the 80s New Teen Titans, the new way to view the multiverse, and try not to lean too heavily into Dan Didio's infamous whiteboard. Is there mechanics to what makes a generation you can share with readers? Oh, the shot of Dan Didio. Nice. Our story will deal with one way we look at the universe of characters that we're dealing with. In terms of mechanics, you mean, how does this all connect? Yes, we'll address that. Your detective stories seem to imply there are no less than 6 Batmen. Is that canon or just artistic license? It will become canon in context of the story we're telling. We'll address how these characters and eras connect through the years and eras that we've seen and what that means in terms of the way these characters relate. We'll really dig into that following month in Generations 4's, which, wait, we aren't supposed to discuss that yet? Sorry, forget we said anything! So yeah, there is going to be a sequel to Future State and Generations Shattered, Generations Forged. Yeah, it's speculated to be the same size and format as Shatter and likely serves as a concluding bookend chapter to Shatter and Future State that would precede the return of the mainline TC Universe titles in March, resuming their numbering along with a series of new launches. So, that's it. We're done. I want to end this off with a big interviews talk regarding Dan Jurgens' stuff and my commentary bits on here. So, yeah, I'm actually very curious to show what they're going to do. I get the feeling that all the 5G stuff they were planning to do is going to be kind of part of this. Like they're saying, like there was reported that there were a team of writers and artists that worked on these books and worked on certain stuff, and they probably did have some issues made that were fully completed months in advance. So they were like, okay, since this was a clean sweep and everything, they could rewrite it, or they could retcon it and make it as an alternate timeline and or a separate imprint. So yeah, because like I said, like one of the big endings that were rumored for Joker War was the end of the Joker. He was supposed to die. So I get the feeling that that they're going to show the alternative tale that had, you know, Joker died in Joker War, so to speak, and this leads into the radical shift that would have been the 5G world of DC. So we'll see that when DC launches Shatter, its Future State, and Generations Forge in February, from January to February. So March looks like to be the resuming date of all the DC books and the new series of books that will come out from this. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to this fun tale. Well, so those were all my talks on Neo Reality Collected today on Monday. Hey, this week is kicking out to a big start. This was Neo Reality Antenna. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to do more. And stay safe, everyone.